Hello and welcome to Inside Out podcast with Sam and Jenna. As you would have seen, we met Jenna last week and her video was posted and you got to learn all about Jenna and get a bit of an insight on her life. And now I guess it's my turn. So it's Meet Sam. Hi, I'm Sam. So I'll just do a brief introduction on myself and then we have some questions. I've written these down. Hopefully I can read my own writing because it's quite scribbly. But yeah, I'm Sam. I am a personal trainer. I have done that for 12 years now. Seems like forever that I've done that role. I absolutely love it. I love helping people and working with people. Previous to that, I worked in retail from the age of, I think I started age 16, 17 part-time whilst I was at college. And then I just made my way up in the retail sector, went into visual merchandising. Then I was traveling the country with that, which I absolutely loved. I went everywhere and worked with loads of different people. And then I worked my way up into management. And again, I worked in the Trafford Centre, Altrincham, Birmingham. I was everywhere and absolutely loved it. But then I fell into fitness. I say fell into fitness. I always dabbled, but then I met Adam, who owned Caveman Training at the time, and got into personal training and fitness, and it changed my life. And from then on, I wanted to change other people's lives because I was overweight and unhappy. And if I could do it, then anybody could do it. That was my thinking and mindset at the time. And I just went headfirst into that. And then I went into the education around, personal training and group fitness and integrated into the fitness world. Went part-time into retail and then made that transition. And I was late 20s when I did that. I was probably 28, 29. So yeah, I stayed in the fitness industry and I've worked with loads of people. Travelled to boot camps like Marbella with Nick Mitchell at Up Fitness. That was definitely a highlight. And yeah, learned from a lot of the best in the business. As time's gone on, I then left Cave and I now work in my own personal gym. Simon McGovern's, it's a jiu-jitsu studio, and then he has a gym on the side and I rent that space and I love it because it's just me and the clients one-to-one. And as my time as a personal trainer has gone on, I'd say it's very much always focused heavily on nutrition. That is the core of me. I feel like nutrition is at the core of everything, and I'm really passionate about that. But as time's gone on, it's still heavily focused on nutrition, but more mindset than it is anything else. So the game's definitely changed for me as the years have gone on. But yeah, I still love it. And then as time's gone on as well, I've learned more about myself because I've been on my own journey. And yeah, I've got a lot more spiritual over the last, especially 5 years. I'd say I've been on a crash course in the last 5 years. I've learned a lot, which has brought me to here now. I dabble in quantum physics now. Like when I got introduced to that, Joe Dispenza came at that time, and yeah, when I first come across Joe Dispenza, it blew my mind and the quantum world, and I couldn't get my head around it, but I was so interested in it. So I remember reading, why can't I think of his book? I can't think of his book, but I came across this book and I read it and I didn't understand half of it, but I read it again, and everything else that I was learning aside of this, it all clicked into place. And one day I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And it was all manifestation and shifting timelines, and yeah, it all merged. One day it just clicked with me and I got it. But as with Jen, it's like crystal healing and Reiki. I don't necessarily do it myself, but I've had lots and lots of treatments and experienced a lot over the years, and I'm sure we'll come across all them stories along the way. But yeah, I've got some mega stuff I can share with you. I live alone with my 2 cats. Peps is just behind me now. She's enjoying the sound of the rain. And then I've got Binks, Peps and Binks. They are my world. I absolutely adore them. I've got my mum that's just got married, bless her. She's amazing. And I wouldn't be the woman I am today without my mum. She's, taught me a lot. I've got my dad. They live separately. They split up when I think I was about 12, 13. So that was a time. I've got my sister who came, when I was 21. My mum got pregnant with another partner, and yeah, that was an experience as well. That was, yeah, a time. But my sister, she is 20 this year, and I love her to bits. Absolutely love her to bits. And we go on holiday soon, and I'm so excited. So yeah, that's a brief overhaul of me, and I will go into questions now. So, who were you before you became conscious and the version of yourself that you are now? Okay, I feel like I've lived a lot of different lives. And if I go back to like high school, I was a shell of the person I am now. So I grew up as an only child, and I was overweight as well and felt very uncomfortable in my own skin. I always felt like I needed to fit in somewhere, and I was never just comfortable being me. Like I wasn't in the popular group, but then I wasn't in the geeky group, and then I was just, in that middle group. And as long as I felt like I belonged somewhere, I felt comfortable. But if I'm really honest with myself, I never really felt comfortable anywhere. So I've been that version, insecure, very insecure. I have my moments now still, but coming from that version of myself who was overweight, she still lives within. And I very much used humour as a defence mechanism. Thank God I don't do that anymore. I kind of do, because that bigger girl is still inside, and yeah, she shows up now and again, and that's when I have to show empathy for her, and all these learnings come up to the surface. But yeah, she's still in there. What other versions? I've been a people pleaser, and I used to care what people thought, especially going into the fitness world. I cared what people thought, and I felt judged a lot of the time. That was partly down to my own insecurities and feeling good enough and self-worth. That again, still there, live in the back. But it was massive stepping into the fitness industry. And yeah, I definitely didn't feel good enough to be part of that world, especially at the beginning. But as time's gone on, obviously that's changed, and I feel totally different about what I offer people now and what I'm here for. And yeah, I used to be married, as well. So I've been a wife in the past, which friends and family say to me now, to think of you married, Sam, and in that life is so bizarre. Knowing you now, you're a totally different person, and I look back at that version of myself and it is pretty mental. But what I look at and I appreciate, and I loved it all. I've got some amazing memories. But yeah, I wouldn't exchange anything for the version I am now. I love who I am now, and the awareness that I have now and what I've been through to bring me to being so conscious and present. I wouldn't change any of it now. I'd go through all of it again just to be where I am now, because I absolutely love it. And I'm still learning every single day, and I embrace life so much more. And I never used to be that person. And yeah, that's me now. What would you consider your superpower? What would I consider my superpower? Okay. I would say my resilience and just how I can turn anything around the shittest of situations. And I've got evidence of this. I could write a book on this. But yeah, I'd say my resilience, and I wouldn't say resilience because I find women resilient anyway. I think that's a woman's superpower anyway, resilience. But it's that fine line, because I reflect on some areas of my life and I'm like, that wasn't resilience. You thought you were being resilient, but you were actually just putting up with shit. And I think that's what a lot of women do. A lot of people do, actually. I shouldn't just say women. But my personal superpower is within that resilience, no matter what happens, the evidence that I've got is that I can turn that pain, heartache, grief, whatever it may be, I've turned it into something to then be so powerful that can ripple out goodness into the world. And I won't give specific examples because I'm sure some parts of my journey will unravel as we go, and you'll hear different parts and stories of my life, and they are just stories, but they got me here today, so no doubt we'll come across them. But there was a particular time a few years ago, and this weekend was awful. I had a heartache. I was physically broken, physical trauma, heart broken, mentally broken down. There was nothing left. I was rock bottom. And this all happened at a weekend. And on the Monday, I was due to start a 12-week transformation with my online coach at the time. And any other person would be like, I can't start a 12-week transformation tomorrow. I can't do that. But I was the opposite. I was like, I am absolutely going to start that transformation tomorrow. Because again, I have evidence from things I've done in the past, and obviously I'm a personal trainer, and there's nothing better than fitness and nutrition, movement, that is going to set you back on track. I know this, and I've done it in the past, And I knew it was the best thing for me, although it was probably the last thing I wanted to do. I'd been broken all weekend, and to the Friday, to the Sunday night, I was in pieces, absolutely in pieces. But when it came to that Monday morning, I showed up, and although I couldn't do parts of the plan, I couldn't do the physical side of the plan, I started my nutrition and I started the mindset on the Monday, and nothing was going to stop me from doing that 12-week plan. I was not going to make any excuses for myself. And we'll probably go into this as we go, but last year I did an 8-week course, and it was highlighting and identifying your saboteurs. And my bottom ones, which were no surprise to me, were victim. I scored 0 on victim, and I scored 0 on people pleasing. And that's just how my mind works. I will not play the victim at all. It's right, let's go. And I'd say, coming back to the question, that is my superpower. There's resilience, but then there's turning that situation into something that just ends up magical and ends up changing your life, and it ripples out. So that 12-week transformation rippled out because I was doing videos online. It rippled out onto my clients. There was nothing but epicness that came from it. And then Serenity Sisters, my retreats that I do, and the charity No Call for the Old, which are all amazing things that so many people benefit from, that came from heartache and me being broke. Broken as in shattered, nothing left of me, pain. That came from that place. And so I'd say that was my superpower. Give an example of a time you put into practice a learning and made yourself proud. So part of my journey, a big part, and I put into practice every day, is becoming the observer. So really stepping back and not reacting and responding. And I remember being in a relationship where I reacted, and I was taken to a place, and this happened years and years ago, but it re-showed up later on in life, but it was the same thing that happened. And I'm because I'm so aware, I noticed the cycle, and I was like, oh, this has happened before. So it really made me stop and think, okay, I need to change something here. So I reacted in a situation, and I did not like the person I was when I reacted. It was awful. It made me upset. And I really didn't like it, how I reacted to a partner. And I could sit here and go, well, he goaded me, he was in my face. And, what else are you supposed to do when somebody's in your face like that? But that was an older version of me. I did react, but I didn't like it. It didn't sit well with me. Sorry, I hit the mic there. It didn't sit well with me. And I knew that within myself. So I needed to change it. So part of that was becoming the observer of situations and listening and taking that pause before I then responded. So I've got an example of when this happened. And when it happened, after, I thought, wow, okay, you really learned in that situation, because you didn't consciously think, right, I'm going to do this. It just happened. So I'll tell you the story. I think it was last year, actually, early last year. I was in the car and I was in traffic, and I was coming up to some traffic lights, and there was an ice cream van in front of me, and the schools were just coming out. So there was lots of people at the side of the road, lots of traffic. And I just stopped because it was slow traffic. And it turns out I was in the middle of, a crossing. So there was traffic lights and there's nothing I could do because the ice cream man had let a school bus out in front and the driver got out to open the school gates. So he'd blocked the way and he had to wait for that driver to do that so he could move. So there's nothing I could do. So I saw this and I was like, oh, never mind. The best thing I could do was stay still. So this guy came to my driver's side window. My window was down. He got in my face and he goes, "What the hell have you stopped here for? You absolute idiot." I mean, that was me being polite, but he was swearing at me. "Fancy doing that? There's kids here and you're in the middle of the junction." And he was going at me. And I just looked at him and I just listened. Because I thought, there's nothing I can do. There's clearly nothing I can do. I've stopped here. I'm not then going to reverse or shimmy forward because there's kids crossing the road, as you say. So I just listened. He then said nothing because I didn't respond. And then he walked off with his child. And I just faced forward in the car, took a deep breath, and I was like, I'm sorry that you're having a bad day because you clearly are to react to me like that. And I wish you well. And that's okay. I accepted that he was having a bad day. I could take it. So okay. And I just didn't let it affect my day, how I thought. And that was that. I drove off and I felt really smug. And I was like, that's amazing. And yeah, that was a big moment for me. And somebody getting in my face like that, I could have reacted how I have done in the past. So just reacting like that and responding really rewired and created a new pathway in my brain. Okay, so if we don't react like that, that's what happens. And that was much better. I felt better. I didn't feel riled up. My heart rate wasn't up. And I still felt peaceful and calm when I drove off. He must have felt like a bit of an idiot, but that's his problem, not mine. So yeah, good example. What's a moment in your life that made you stop and reevaluate everything? Okay, the first thing that comes into my mind was when COVID happened. And what coincided with that was me coming off the pill, off the contraception pill. I'd been on the pill since I was like 16 and I went on for acne purposes. I had acne on my forehead and I got told by the nurse that to control and balance hormones I needed to go on the pill. But how that then affects you without you even knowing is mental. So you can imagine when I was, how old was I? 35, 36 maybe, when I came off the pill. It was like a veil was lifted and I saw the world completely differently. And because COVID was happening as well, it was insane what happened in my brain. And I was trying to understand everything that was going on at the time because I was looking at people differently. I was thinking differently. I was feeling differently. And I couldn't get my head around it. I was like, what on earth is going on here? So that was early on in the year of 21, I think it was. Yeah. And really changed everything for me, because by the end of 21 then, I was ending my marriage because I no longer felt that was aligned. And to everybody, it seemed out of the blue and, oh my God, like, you guys are meant to be together. And I was like, yeah, well, I thought that too. And that's how I felt, but I don't now. And trying to explain that to people was hard, really tough, because people didn't get it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't for people to get. It was for me to work through, and my husband at the time to work through and understand. And yeah, that was a big learning as well, because prior to that, I cared what people thought. And at this point, I was like, Sam, that needs to shut down now. People are observing and perceiving your situation now as if something must have happened, because this can't possibly happen. Something must have gone on externally for this to happen. I was like, this is me talking to myself, Sam. You've got to switch off the outside noise, because you're going to get people thinking whatever. You can't control people's perspective. I could have gone out there and made a big speech about why I feel like I can't continue with my marriage anymore, but it's nobody's business. And we knew what went on, and that's all that matters. But that was huge. That really, I had to stop and reevaluate my life for reasons I didn't understand at the time. I really didn't understand. I was like, because I don't see things the same anymore, and this is not for me anymore. And yes, so that was a big year, 2021, and things happened like since then, like this last 5 years, as I've said. I've been mental, and I've learned a lot, and I've been faced with a lot of challenges and lessons, but again, I wouldn't change any of it. So yes, that forced me to stop and reevaluate everything. What do you think people are starving for right now in the world and don't realize it? That's quite easy. I feel like it's love. It might sound cheesy, but love, everything comes back to love in the world, with self, each other. Everything comes back to love. If you love yourself, that then ripples out love to everything and everyone else. It's a vibration. And I feel like people are starved of that right now. And we look at what's going on in the world, and I try and keep all of that outside noise out as a general rule. I don't engage with the news. I don't even know why I've got a TV, because I don't have it on. I put it on for the cats. I just need to show you these right now. I've got Binks outside in the rain, and then oh, bless him. I might have to go let him in. But yeah, everything comes back to love, in my opinion, and people are starved of it, particularly self-love, in my opinion. So what belief did you once hold so tightly that you now completely see differently? I used to be, and I still am, I still value trust massively. Trust is important in all aspects of life, in business and in relationships. And that's always been high. As time's gone on, in me learning, especially in relationships, trust is now converted into transparency for me. And I think Jen mentioned this on hers as well. Trust is no longer good enough. It's transparency and authenticity. I've been in past relationships before where it's not, I have not trusted that person, and it's been in a conversation and it's, well, why haven't you told me that? Well, you haven't asked. And that's where it crosses over the trust and transparency, because you just tell your partner if you were going here, there, or whatever. It's just the transparency of being authentic with whatever you're doing, your plans, and just coming forward with that information and it not really being an issue. Well, you never asked. And that was like a way out of them trying to be honest in a situation. So that was a learning. So I transformed that trust into transparency. So that's important to me, transparency in all aspects of life, and authenticity. What you see with me is what you get, I'd like to think, because I can't be anyone or anything else other than who I am now. And I've found the more authentic I am, the better, because it dwindles out everything or everyone or circumstances, situations that just aren't meant for me. And that's okay. If I just carry on being myself, I attract what's meant for me. And since I've just been purely myself, life's taken a shift and a turn. And I like to think that I'm living more authentically than ever before. And people say to me, I don't know how you go on social media and you do these videos, and I'm just me. I press play and I just talk. And if people don't like it, then they will stop watching, and the stuff and the things that I'm saying are just not meant for them, and that's okay. And if somebody thinks I'm an idiot, I don't care. I genuinely don't care if anybody thinks, oh, look at her, who does she think she is? Or whatever people are thinking, because everybody's got their own perspective. And we can all look at a glass of water and we'll all have 100 different things to say about the glass of water. And we can't control anybody's perception of what they're seeing. So that is my mindset now, and where I've shifted a lot over time. What parts of you are no longer hiding? What parts of you are you no longer hiding? Okay, people closest to me will be like, yes, this is right. I never used to show. Unless you're really close to me and you really got to know me, you would never see a soft side of me. I would always like to think that everybody who was looking at me saw this hard person who could handle anything, and that's just the way I liked it. I don't take shit. I'm hard. You can't crack me. And that's how I like to be perceived. But as time's gone on and I've learned, and Jen will be the first one to say that I'm so much more vulnerable now. And you will see a softer side of me. And you guys, I'm sure, will in this podcast, as I come forth with, past experiences about myself, and I'll show vulnerability. Whereas a past version of myself, I wouldn't do that, because it would be a sign of weakness. And I'm not about that life. Well, I wasn't about that life, but yeah, we've all got a past, and as I've said a few times now, it shaped who I am today. So yeah, I don't see any weakness in vulnerability or being soft. Yeah. If someone listened to this podcast for 1 year straight, what change would you hope happens inside of them? I would hope that they would consider perspectives more, and not be in their head as much about things. They were lighter in their life. They felt lighter because they would have let go of a few things, maybe trying to control their life less, control outcomes less, be more in flow of life. Because my top saboteurs were controller and hyperachiever, which again we can go into. But yeah, although they're still the top for me, they're a lot softer. So I'd like to say, in general, people are just more in flow. They're not controlling situations as much, not wanting to control, and more in flow of life. And yeah, observing in life and not absorbing, because it's so easy to get absorbed in people's situations. And I used to be like that. And if somebody, because I feel energy, I'm so sensitive to it, and I go in, I used to, an older version. What have I done? What is it I've done? Oh God, was it this? Was it that? And I would wish for people, anybody like that, and they're listening, to just be like, people have got their own crap going on, and it's nothing to do with you. 9.5 times out of 10, it's got nothing to do with you. So yeah, just more awareness, more consciousness. Last question. If someone listening feels stuck, disconnected, or lost in themselves right now, what would you want them to hear first? If you're feeling stuck, disconnected, and lost, anybody, and I've felt like that before myself, I'd say come back to self. Find the quietness and the stillness. Walks in nature, time alone. And a lot of people don't want to spend time on their own because they're forced to face themselves. But that's one of the best things you can do. Sit with yourself, let your nervous system settle, and find calmness and peace. And if you feel lost or disconnected, when you're on yourself and when you're on walks in nature and when you're looking after yourself, things will come to you, and things that are meant for you will come to you. In the quietness of the mind, and when you're still, you're allowing things to come in. So what is meant for you then will start coming in. And then you will feel reconnected to yourself through nature and through your walks and through the stillness. So that would be my advice. I know Jen, really, through her work that she does, she would probably advise journaling as well. Anything you're feeling lost and stuck on, write it down and spend some time writing your thoughts and feelings down, because once they get out of here and they're on that paper, that can lighten the load and make you feel better as well. So yes, those are all the questions that I have written down. I hope you know me a bit more. If there's anything that you want to ask me and Jen from watching our videos, anything that sparked an interest or you want to know more about, then drop it in the comments, drop us a message, and then we can then bring it up in future conversations. That's no problem at all. But thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time. And yeah, I'm so excited to do the first episode with Jen. and to get the ball rolling on this. But yeah, anything you want us to talk about, speak about, anything that sparked your interest, let us know. But thank you for listening.